language has taken an enthralling journey from caveman chatter to AI chatbots. But what about the future? Will everyone speak the same language, or will we completely eliminate the need to talk and simply let our brains communicate? Today, we have with us an award winning author, columnist, and creative consultant, Jane D'Souza. Her humorous books about tackling deep issues have been published worldwide. Among others are The Midnight Years on young adult mental health, Flyaway Boy on stereotyping children, and When the World Went Dark, globally titled When the Impossible Happens. She is here to present insights on how technology and social evolution will shape not just the way we talk in the near future, but also who we are, and therefore the need to be flexible with our thinking. Please introduce Ms. Jane D'Souza.
Good afternoon. Yeah, I know I've got the graveyard shift or whatever it's called in the afternoon, but I hope we'll do a quick, short, exciting, and involved session. And if possible, if you can come up closer so that I can speak and ask questions and hear what you say. Okay? If I have a backbencher complex too, so if you want to sit out there, and it's fine, but yeah. Otherwise, I can't hear you when I ask you something and you answer. So this book is not out yet. It's called The Talking Book. But I'm going to give you insights from it. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is that I went down a rabbit hole. I got so absorbed and so fascinated about how we talk, why we talk, how different people talk, that, I sat and I did more research and I did more reading than I did writing. And all it got me was, when the power of my glasses went up and the size of my jeans went up. But here's the book. Okay. So I'm going to give you the insights. The book itself is for children, but I'm going to give you a whole lot of trends about where talking, where communication, language is going. Okay, to start with the fine print, that thing that we all sign up on credit cards and nobody reads. So if you're buying into that, can you read it? No, good. So if you're buying into that, you're here, okay? Now what I'm going to say is, though I say it's a journey of language, language was not a journey. Okay? It's this gigantic puzzle, and every excavation that they do keeps digging up new things. Okay, so we have to piece all of it together to find out how we started talking, where we're going, and everybody disagrees with everyone else. That's the fine print. So that, if you will disagree as well, I can promise you there'll be something politically incorrect that you'll disagree with. Okay, but that's the fine print, because there are so many theories, we're listening to what everyone says. Any idea what this is? What is that? That's why I said come up close, I can't hear. A comb. It's a comb. It's a comb for men. Now why? Why men? So this was found a few years back, and it was found in Israel, and it's a comb for lice. Lice comb, so they had lice back, and it's like hundreds and thousands of years old, and there's an inscription that they found there. And it says, "May this tusk root out the lice from your hair and beard." Beard. That's why it's a comb for men. So that's the curse on an ancient lice comb. Now, this is supposed to be humanity's earliest alphabetic language, which is something that we didn't know till we found this. That's what I mean. So there are a whole lot of pieces. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle, and newer things keep coming up each time, which are older, if you know what I'm talking about. So this is because there's so many different opinions, this is what I thought I'd call my book, 50 Shades of Grey. But the title was taken, so I can't. Yeah. Okay, I was very excited because I was obsessed with language and communication and how we talk, but obviously I'm not the first one. So in the 5th century BC, it started with all the kings. All the kings wanted to know which was the first language. Were we the first? Let's do these experiments. And the experiments were so unbearably cruel. So, for example, the pharaoh Psamtik, I know the youngsters will know about him. He did this experiment where he locked two twins, two young toddlers, into a cottage, and there was a goat herder or something who had to take care of them. No humans around them. No humans around them. And he wanted to know what was the first language they would come out and speak, because that would be obviously humanity's first language. And when the door was opened after 2 years, they were fed and stuff like this. Uh, they were babbling, and they said the word they came up was because, and they were taken to the pharaoh, and they said because, and everybody got very excited because meant bread in Phrygian, and they said, that's the first language, that's humanity's first language. Now, unbelievably, if you think that was a weird experiment, kings all over the world were doing this. So we had kings from Germany, Scotland. This one, he kept his toddlers in an island so nobody would find them. Akbar the Great did it in India. They're called language deprivation experiments or forbidden experiments. Much later, when all this talk was going on, the Society for Languages, which was started to promote languages, banned it. They banned talking about the origin of languages because there's just no way to know. Okay, this is a story which should tell it better than a whole lot of slides. When I first came down south from the north, and I was a young bride, which is obviously many moons ago, as you can tell, we had a cook called Vasanta. She spoke no language except Tamil. I spoke no southern languages, my first time south. Okay, and I know you will know this word, but she came to me in the first day, and we had lots of these cartons, and she said, Vangayam. I had no idea what that meant, so I said, time, what, where, what do you want? Vangayam, Vangayam. Then she started doing this, Vangayam, Vangayam. So I took out knives, I took out chopping boards, I took out, everything I could think of. I was pulling things out of cartons in a small little house that we had. And then she began to be really angry with me, and she kept saying, Vangayam. So at that point, I took out eggs and tomatoes, and finally I got to the onion, which is what this is. So what did I do? The next day I went to office, and I got my colleagues, and I got this was pre-Google Translate. So I got a whole glossary of terms of, English, Tamil, Hindi, and I put it all over my fridge. And I learned Tamil in 2 days, yes. Now in Singapore, where I live, my best friends are Tamil, and they can't keep any secrets from me, because I know. So what is the point I'm trying to make? The first insight: language is an outcome of need. This discussion we have about our kids, we want them to learn a language and this. A language can never be imposed. This is what all the research says. It has to have a need. The need can be that, they have to speak with their grandparents or that they're going to a foreign country. But it has to come out of a need. Okay, question time. What is that? What do you think that is? That little thing on top, okay? Where's my pointer? Pointer not working. Okay, that little one on top which has been blown up down. What do you think it is? Any guesses? Sorry? What does this look like? No idea at all. Let me tell you how old it is. It's 30,000 years old. It's not a comb, obviously. What do you think it is? Sign language? Marks of? Marking something, right? Marking dates. Dates? Did you say yes? What does this look like? What are these? These are the phases of the moon. So out then, 30,000 years back, they were marking the calendar. This was a pocket calendar that they took on their hunts. So they actually they wanted to know when the moon would rise, when would it set, when would it be bright, because they wanted to know whether they could go out after prey or they'd be prey themselves, right? So this is what they had, and this was why I'm saying that when you have a need, communication follows. Language, of course, the second insight. Language, this is Jhumpa Lahiri said, language, identity, just different elements of belonging and non-belonging. Language can keep us in, or it can make us, either inclusive, or it can even keep us away from, if you want to exclude somebody. Language tells us more about somebody. I was surprised to read this, than anything else, than the way I dress, the way I look. It's the way I speak. So it tells me about history, geography, my politics. How many times have you got a WhatsApp and said, and the message says more about the messenger, and you say, oh my God, which kind of people is this, which kind of friends does this person have that they're sending this kind of stuff, right? So here, language is so much about our reality that there are certain cultural words that cannot be anywhere else in the world. So the northern climes, the Eskimos, Inuits, have thousands of words for snow, for reindeer, which if you're close to the equator, there are no words. Okay, because you don't have snow. But there's this word called Hanyauku, Namibian. Now, that's what Hanyauku is. What do you think it is? No reindeers, they don't have reindeers. Antelope, no. Something lower than the antelope. Sea. Okay, I'll tell you what it is. It's not sand. It's not hot sand. It is tiptoeing on hot sand. They actually have a word that means tiptoeing on hot sand. That's how strong a language is. Obviously, the Eskimos wouldn't need a word like that. It also language tells us about our history. For example, in India, we have so many proto-languages that I think about 7 that have given birth to all the languages we speak today. So there's the Indian-Aryan proto-language, there's the Dravidian proto-language, there's the Sino-Tibetan proto-language, and there are 4 others. And if we actually begin to study, go back and see where we've come from, it's absolutely fascinating. It gives us our history. Brahui. Has anyone heard of Brahui? No. So there's a tribe in Baluchistan, high in the hills, okay, Afghanistan, Iran area, and they speak a language which no one else in the region speaks. And when they found that language has come from the Dravidian proto-language. And how do you think it came up? Yes, it was actually a remnant of the Harappan culture. So it is for so many years, there's this one single tribe speaking a Dravidian language out there. So, this is another trend, and it's true. You tell your kids that if you keep on like that, your necks will go forward, and your body, if we do that enough generations, it will happen. Because language, our bodies evolved with language, and we're the only speech-ready animals physically. No animal can speak. They don't have. 150,000 years ago, we had the descended larynx, which made us able to talk. Our vocal tracts extended. Our brains grew more complicated. There is this area, this red area, Broca's area, and there's a blue area called Wernicke's area. The red area is 6 times larger in us than it is in chimpanzees. That's the area which we articulate throughout. They found that. And in between, of course, is arcuate fasciculus with just a bunch of nerves, which is what I was when I first came up onto stage. But anyway. So are the future, yeah. Yeah. Yes, they have found differences in multilingual people. Yes, they have. Is the next generation going to be smarter? Believe it or not, research says that maybe, that each generation is getting smarter. So that's, yeah, I know that he's kicked about that. Yeah, he's thrilled. A big debate that's happening, I'm sure all of you have it, yeah? Is there going to be a universal language? Because with the internet, there's Mandarin, there's English. Are they going to wipe out all the other languages? Sadly, they are beginning to, okay? But I'm going to give you an example about how universal languages do we make it ours. I come from Singapore, I tell you. Who has been to Singapore and knows what this is about? Okay. So, I'll take you through how do you translate. This word can, which we use all the time, in Singapore it has a different value, a different meaning. Okay? Can means, can you do this? Can means, of course I can do this. Can means, are you sure you can do this? Can la, that means, of course, relax, I'll do it. Can may means, I don't think you can do it, it doesn't sound like you can do it. Can. Okay, like stop bugging me. I can do this. No. Tell me if you can't do this, okay? Can already. I've done it. So, just this one word and how it's used differently across. So, languages will merge, morph, and the way we speak today will be very different from the way our children speak, and we have to just face it. So, there's pidgins and creoles. When two languages come together, pidgin is taken from what the Chinese called business language. So business became pidgin, trade language. And when two people who can't speak the same language meet, they speak some kind of, adapted language. That's a pidgin. When it goes into the next generation and their children begin to speak that, if they do, then it's called a creole, because then it gets grammar, syntax. Mygurud is this very, very interesting case about how language morphs. In the Malabar rebellion, Kerala, prisoners who wanted to speak to each other from cell to cell and couldn't because the wardens also spoke the same language, right? They were all from Kerala, all Malayalam. So they evolved their own language, was replacing like consonants, sha, cha, tha, they would replace, and they came up with Mygurud. Language is an outcome of need. If you need to, you will speak a language. This is a book. This is my book called When the World Went Dark. And when it was bought by an American publisher, I said, okay, English to English, how different can it be? I was in for a sore surprise. So there's a process called Americanization of a book. Yes. So for example, like look out of the window. Wrong grammar there. It's look out the window. Yeah, you're smiling because there's a whole lot of stuff. Okay, so even within the same language, there's so many differences. Words keep getting added and deleted. There's a question at the bottom: what will make of it? William Shakespeare, if he was here today, would not be able to speak our language. He'd not be able to speak English. The same way we can't speak his. About 1,000 to 3,000 words are added to an English dictionary. I'm not sure about other languages. Prepone. Remember, in business language, we're not allowed to use prepone. We'd say forward. The meeting is now forwarded. Now you can say prepone because it's added to the dictionary, and it's because of us. They say in brackets that it's an Indian edition. Where did these words come from? Where did colonials and quarantines come from? They've just come into our lingo. Yes, from the pandemic. But the word quarantine itself is many centuries old. And this is an interesting little story, quaranta giorni, which in Italian means 40 days. When there was the Black Death plague, the ships could not come into dock. They were meant to stay out for 40 days. 40 whole days of quarantine before they could come in. So had they said 30 days, we wouldn't have a quarantine anymore. We'd have a, Trentine or something it would be called. Oh, I love this example. The letter X. Okay. The letter X. How many words can you think of which start with X? Top of your head. How many words? Yeah, X-ray, xylophone. No, we all studied A for ABC. Samuel Johnson's first dictionary, 1755. I'm in the way, I'm sorry. Yeah. You know what he said? He said there are no words in English that start with X. 1755, less than 100 years later, Webster's dictionary had one word that starts with X, and that is this. I know you can Google it, but does anyone know what it is? Only one word that started with X. It's called the XEBEC, Zebek. I never heard of it, I know. But it's this vessel, this Mediterranean ship. And the current Oxford English Dictionary has how many words? Yes? 3? Multiply. Come on. Other guesses? 20? Higher? 100? Higher? 300 to 400 words today starting with X. Can you imagine? That's the way languages grow. So, as I said before, this is a very sad slide, but I'm putting in here. It always hurts me. A language disappears every 2 weeks. Okay, 50 to 90% of endangered languages will vanish in the next century if we don't do something about it. 96% of languages, this is unbelievable, are only spoken by 4% of the world's population. These 4% are the custodians of all these languages. 2,000 languages are not written, and so when the last speaker dies, the language will too. 2,000 out of about 7,000 plus that we speak today. So dominant languages are raising minority languages. We say India is multilingual, right? The last census found out something, that those of us, if our mother tongue is Hindi, we are less likely to be multilingual. Why is that? There's no need, because we can speak to anyone. But those who are, for example, Manipuri, Tulu, they are multilingual because there is a need to speak another universal language. Same goes with English. The kids who are brought up with English as their thing, they don't have a need to be multilingual, which is a sad bit. So there is you can't create a must learn the language, buy the books, make them study. You have to create the need. And this is how they did it, okay? So Sanskrit, Quechua, Hawaiian, Hebrew. Hebrew went extinct for 2,000 years and was brought up. Maipuri was kept alive by parrots. That's another story I'll tell you maybe later. This is Mathur. You know where this is? Near Shimoga. It's a Sanskrit village. You know where it is, right? So this village, Sanskrit was supposed to be spoken only by the upper caste. Then the local priest said, no, we won't have this. Everybody has to learn Sanskrit. So every child learns Sanskrit in this village. They do their groceries in Sanskrit. But what I was very excited about is that the graffiti on the walls are in Sanskrit. Yeah. So what does that mean? The younger generation is taking it up. And that picture, that's our ADGP, Alok Kumar. So there was a complaint about some crime, and he went. That's why I put that picture. Can you see it? Yeah. He's actually, the whole FIR and the whole discussion was done in Sanskrit about the crime. So make it current. Put a need in for the language. Okay. New language is changing, and the language that we speak, I said, is not the language our kids will speak. Okay. This is a book I did called The Midnight Years, which is about the 4 teenage voices and the troubles that they go through. And you know what? I had to check it, because I had to check whether the voices were authentic. So I had to check it with teens before I did it. And I asked this question: is it still cool to say cool? Or do you have another word? You know? So what were, over generations, from our parents' generation to ours, what changed? We use new slang, we use new abbreviations. What do they use now? What's changed in the last generation? Yes, emojis, acronyms, hashtags are being used, and language is becoming more visual. We are getting lazier. So when you want to say that you're angry, what do you do in a text? Angry face, or you put it in bold, or you put it in italics. You don't use words anymore. It's just becoming a visual thing. Language is becoming more visual. There's this factor called age grading, which we are not aware of. I wasn't aware of. The way you speak now was different from the way you spoke when you were young. It will be different from the way you speak when you're 50, 60, 70. At each age, branding hurts. Because if you send someone a mail or a text, they know at once what age you are. So I was very surprised. I have a teen boy who said, you know, only you put smileys. They put skull heads. How is that a smile? You know, but that's the thing. So you see a message and you can tell an age. That's happening in our generation with language. And this is the other question. Do your kids want you to use today's language? They don't, yeah. This is much talked about. Short attention spans we talk about, right? This is all one sentence. And it goes on. This is Faulkner's world record of a 1,200 plus word sentence from his book Absalom, Absalom. Yeah. And nowadays, do you think anyone would read that sentence? Do you think they'd read 1,200 words anyway? So there's a little thing right down there which you can't see at the back. This is a personal anecdote. I was with my son Nikash. We were coming back in a bus. We'd just done our groceries, okay? And so I tell him, look, we've got so many packets. Message your brother Neil, my older boy, and tell him to come down right now. Tell him to leave whatever he's doing. Come down right now. We've got so much stuff. We won't be able to carry it up. And, in about 5 minutes, it should take us and all. And while I'm saying all this, he's already done. He's written something. And he said, done. I said, you wrote all that? And he's written this, CMDNRN. Come down right now. And it worked. Yeah. So that's what, and we have to accept it. That's what my entire speech is going to be about. We have to go with the flow. I'm a language purist, I used to be, but you cannot fight it. This session promised to tell you how language and technology will change who we are. This is unfortunately how it is. Have you heard of phubbing? What's phubbing? Yes. The actual thing is phone snubbing. You know, when you're with somebody but you're on your phone. So what has that resulted in? Research has shown that even when we are with somebody and not on our phones, less eye contact. We just don't make eye contact anymore. It's changed us that way. We're very outward facing. So very sadly, we are not. Earlier we used to say what we felt like saying. Now we say something that will get us approval. We want to say something that someone else will approve of. One to many, it's become, so if you see in a large WhatsApp group, do you see that in a large group of 100, how many do you think are active in a classmates group? 5? I was going to say 10, but okay, 5, okay? So I like to call it, I said, social media is a bit like alcohol. It brings out what you are inside. So the quieter people are becoming quieter, and it's only the bold and the aggressive who are speaking. That's what language is also becoming. The anonymity of sender, of course, you've heard of, because you don't know who, so it's easier to say things you wouldn't. It's easier to call someone a libtard or a Nazi or something than it is to their face. I know you're going to read the comic strip first, so I'll read it with you. I got approval to work from home. My chatbot will answer all of my emails and text messages. Chatbot answers will be useless. I hope so, otherwise it won't sound like me. So this is so true because NLP, natural language processing, is becoming so brilliant that they can actually replicate us down to the way we speak, what I'm saying. It can be actually replicated because it's a learning model. It's just teaching itself. And what is the final outcome of this? What's the ethical concern? We don't know whom we can trust. We don't know whether we're talking to a machine or a person, if it's a person, if it's a real person. If it's a real person, if it's their avatar. Because now you can actually sculpt who you want to be, right? So I was at the Asian Festival in Singapore, Asian Festival, people from around the region, authors and speakers. And they said, okay, so we must get in touch before this session and all. Give me your handle. I said, this is my phone number. No, give me your handle. So everything now is only social media driven. And they want to send me a message which everyone else can see. So that's what I mean by outward driven. Okay, so are we more wary? We've become more wary as people, as human beings, because everything we say can be recorded. So earlier you would just tell somebody something. Now we're very conscious that it can be brought back to us. So do you censor yourself? Yeah. Do you censor yourself when you write? Do you say what you want, or do you think about how this is going to go down forever? Yeah. There are copyright issues. I asked ChatGPT, Dr. Seuss, right? The book of The Cat in the Hat. I asked Dr. Seuss to write me a poem in Dr. Seuss style on, on my language presentation. And in about 20 seconds, it gave me 2 pages. Now, who does that poem belong to? Who? but it's actually Dr. Seuss's voice. Yes. But this was very honest of it. I know you can't read it at the back. I asked ChatGPT because I'm a bit worried, because they said technology will replace you. I asked, can you write a novel? And this is what it said. I don't have personal experience, inspiration, or dreams to write a novel. Isn't that beautiful? All you writers, I love that. Yeah. Sorry? One job, Seva? For now. This is what I call my turning point slide because till now it was dismal and everything was dark and oh God, why? What's the point in writing or living or anything? This is my turning point slide. It may not look like it, but I'm going to tell you why. This is very readily available data. Okay, so you don't have to click pictures. From 2012 to 2018, the favorite way of communicating for teenagers, this is what it looks like. So can you see in person? This is pre-pandemic, okay? After pandemic. In person has gone from 49% to 32%. So teens don't want to meet in person, but texting, video chatting, etc. has gone up hugely. Okay, the next slide. Why is this positive? Okay, wait, the next slide. From when we were young, I mean, obviously, when I was young was many years before when you were young, but when we were young, teens who meet up with their friends till 2015, pretty recently. Look at that. Yes, teens who meet with their friends every day. Why is this positive? Because teens are actually talking to their friends through social media a lot more, through their phones. They're always on. It's always on communication. They're always talking. So I know as parents, if you have youngsters who come back from school, how many times have you said, you just spent your whole day with this person. Why are you back on the phone with them? Do you say that? Yeah. So okay, audience poll. Is social media positive? Do you think it's positive? Put up your hand. No judging. Okay. 2, 3. Do you think social media is positive? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there are what? 9, 10. Too young to count. Okay. 11, 12. Too young to count. So there are about what? 100 and 150 of you here? Maybe 10 people think social media is positive. This is what the research shows. Adults and parents think that social media is not positive for their kids, and kids think it's positive. Isn't that so beautiful? Because they see opportunity. And why do they think it's positive? Because actually the second line is the real reason. So you can create your own social networks. And many youngsters have been feeling very locked into their own geographic spaces. My family doesn't understand me, my close neighborhood. They may have interests which are very out there, and they may want to talk to somebody. Now they can. This is why they find you can create your own network. Sorry? Yeah. This is a very obvious way that language is going and a very obvious positive effect of technology. So real-time translations, how many of us, sometimes when I'm reading a review of something, of whether it's a phone or whether it's a pair of jeans, I can read what somebody in Brazil has to say about them, or in, Korea or anywhere, recipes. This was the Google Glass, which was exhibited in tech fairs around. And while I'm speaking, if for some reason you can't understand me, it's actually showing you in your glass, it's downloading the text and it's telling you. So any language that you don't know, this is our future. And don't say it's only going to be for someone else. Yes, I know. It can be, it's like a wearable device that everyone can read. This is a personal story. This is the Google Lens. You use the Google Lens? So my husband had gone to Korea and someone gave him this box and he brought it back. And we saw this scary looking thing on it. That's what it looks like a snail, doesn't it? And we said, God, should we eat this or not? And then my son did this thing with his phone. And I said, is it seafood? Is it sea animal? What is it? And he did this and it was actually mini walnut crisps. And so we ate it. So we got food out of technology. Okay, there are still some untranslatable, translatable culture-bound words. We can keep our culture. I don't have the time. I've been given my question and answer time, so I won't go on. I'll just go to the last bit. Ashchi, for example, in Bengali or many Indian languages, when you're leaving, what do you say? Yeah, I'm coming back. Now, how do you translate that? So the future isn't that dim. It's not going to be a one Okay, this Yiddish curse, which I have translated because I love it, and I'd like to leave you with it. May all your teeth fall out but one, and may that one tooth give you toothache. So we are entering an era of opportunity. It's going to be and not or. This is what I love about the future. So language is not going to be only the upper caste or only this group. If I want to sit here and learn in Bangalore and learn something about Icelandic, I can, because there's so many online courses, discussion forums, and they can learn ours. So it's going to be an explosion. Communication is going to be ongoing. It is. If you're like me and you get into an altercation with someone, like a fight with someone, and you go back home and you think, oh, I should have said that. Do you? Yeah, obviously. Now you can, because that's what our communication is. It's always ongoing. You can, yeah. Wearable devices will make us look wiser because our words are actually, as I speak and I make any mistakes, they're going to be corrected and given. But will they? So I know we all have this angst. Autocorrect. What do we want? An end to autocorrect errors. When do we want it? Cow. Okay, I'm on to my last slide. The future, the science, the last frontier of science fiction, which is brain-to-brain communication. Is it possible? Is it going to be possible? It is. So as far back as 2014, the Brazil World Cup was kicked off by Juliano Pinto. Does anyone know? Did anyone watch? Do you know who he was? No. He was a paraplegic. He is a paraplegic. For a month, they practiced in the lab, and he thought, and the brain signals were translated, and he kicked off the World Cup in Brazil, football. Speech generating devices have been very, very, very useful, and they're on the. So this is Dr. Rajesh Rao, a very, very well-known name in neurotechnology, University of Washington, heads the Center of Neurotechnology. He played a video game. Okay, he was playing a video game here, and his colleague was in the next room, another computer, and he just the shooting games. So when this guy was shooting, and he just thought, okay, fire. The brain signals were taken by the computer, they were sent over to the other guy, translated back, and the other one fired in the other room, brain to brain. Isn't that amazing? I mean, these things excite me so much. But then the last question I'd like to leave you with. If our computers get hacked, if our phones get hacked, what if our brains get hacked someday, if there's brain-to-brain communication? And I've finished on time. So any questions, please buy the book. No, but yeah, if there are, I'll take them. So if there aren't, then we can wrap it up. Somebody was asking me something while I was speaking. Nothing. Is it scary or is it exciting? The future of language. The future. Both, yeah. For him, it's. What about you? Is it scary?
Scary if, like you said, the brain only could be hacked. You could do some weird stuff like like stealing and all.
Yeah.
So.
And not be traced back to you.
But it can also be exciting. I have no clue in how.
How it's gonna be. Absolutely.
I just want to ask here first.
Yeah.
Sorry. So you mentioned about your teenage son and all. So did you talk to him while you write this book? Did you face any challenge while communicating with him as he grew or he's growing up? Any tips you want to share as a parent?
About communicating with our youngsters?
Yeah.
My main tip is don't try to use their language. Don't try to use words like, I know we think that we are fitting in with them when we use words like, say, give me a word, cringe. Okay? That belongs to them. Give them that, that's what I feel. So you speak to them with the respect and the dignity of where you are and the way you speak. And even if they are full sentences and if you respond in text to I showed you the CMRN, if I respond in full sentences, that's fine because each generation deserves its own space. Okay. Yep. Mike, please.
As a writer, what do you see as the future of writing? Would they be writing books with CM, DN, RN?
They actually have. There are books which...
I think there's a Romeo and Juliet written in text form.
There could be. There are books written in WhatsApp. There are, of course, your 18 word stories. It's not scary. It is, we have to adapt to the medium. That's what we do. We adapt. When we are writing about new challenges and new things that happen, this is new language protocols and conventions. I don't think it's scary. I think it's just a new challenge. It's something else that I have to write in. So my father would, for example, like many of our parents would say, they never start a sentence with and or but. But I do. And I write it, and I've seen it in award-winning. Yes.
I was asking you earlier about the brain and multiple languages. Do you have any info to share about that?
No, it is definitely proven, and there's much research to show that multilingualism does help in the brain. It helps in even later in Alzheimer's. And there's some very specific research which is not out there, which was, for example, that the brain never really forgets a language. So in Canada, I think it was the University of Toronto that did a study on children who were adopted. They were taken from original Chinese families and they were adopted out very young, when they were 1 or 2, into families which did not speak Chinese. So they grew up, and when they were asked if they remembered their old language, they said no. But when they went through MRIs, when they were listening to the language, the areas lit up. Yeah. So it doesn't really forget. So multilingualism is definitely has. It's not contested.
One wish that I have is that there should be a common script and we can read in the original books of other languages. If I want to read something in Malayalam which I don't know.
Well, it's not too far away. I showed you, right? I showed you those pictures. Yeah.
So
Translations aren't
soon.
very soon.
Not translations, transliteration. I don't know what you call it. Let us say Malayalam in Devanagari. A Malayalam story in original in Devanagari.
I think that would still need humans. I'm hoping, yeah. To translate, to transliterate, yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
But yeah. Yes, one more, please. One quick mic.
You've done a lot of research on evolution of languages, and a lot of languages are dying. So, if a language is dying, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh, it's tragic, according to me. So, it's tragic.
So, for example,
with the language goes not just the language; it goes a whole lot of lore. A whole lot of a tradition of storytelling, for example, or what we did. Everything goes when the language goes.
Yeah, it does go, but why is it going? It's going because there are no more opportunities available in that language, right? For example, I'm a Sindhi. I barely speak Sindhi myself. My kids are 100% out of it. Why is it happening? It's because if we speak Sindhi, there is absolutely no opportunity available. So the need hasn't come, as you said.
Yes.
So when the need is not there, should I try and save my language, or
would you try to save your traditions?
Yeah. Why would I try to spend time trying to save it?
Would you save your traditions? Like any cultural traditions?
Evolution. I would evolve.
You would evolve.
Depending on.
I think there are a lot of people. The majority of people want to save where they came from because it's a question of identity. This is where I came from. If I do not acknowledge my own roots, then how am I different from you, or how am I different? So there's a great need for people to know where they came from, to study where they came from, and to preserve that. So for that reason, and then to pass it on to their children.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking this
Whether
question,
it will happen or not is a different question. It may not. It may die out. 2,000 languages are going to die out very soon, yeah.
like the village near Shimoga that only speaks Sanskrit.
Yes.
There are two versions of it. One is it's fabulous thing that is happening because it's saving something that's 5,000 years old.
Right.
And everybody is looking up. But if I were there in the village and that's the only language I know, that's my pond. There's no ocean available to me outside because nobody would understand me the moment I step out, right?
So that language, every house, this is the other statistic, has one person in IT. And they're going around the world. So they don't only speak Sanskrit, but they do know.
They have to be multilingual.
Yes.
They have to be.
Yes, you have to be multilingual and to go out into the world. That's absolutely correct. But you don't have to let go of what you have either. You can do both.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, there's one last question can we take and then we can wrap it up.
So, of course, I haven't read the book. And
No, it's not out yet.
It's not out, yes, but I look forward to.
Okay,
So, from what I understand, you'll probably be talking about language evolution and how language comes in. But probably before I read it, was there any point in the story where you probably could have, the biggest dilemma you faced while writing the story? Sometimes you sort of choose a path, you could have taken another one. So, probably it'll make it more exciting for me to read it. So, was there a point in the story and what was that topic about languages that you felt could have probably taken the story in a different direction? Is there any such...
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah, lot of things we saw today.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the story is for children. So I owe it when I write stories for children to make them exciting. Because I'm not a believer in dumping information. I believe that you give them a non-fiction book which is not interesting, which is not a page turner, they're going to put it on the shelf and never use it. As parents, we are thrilled that we got them knowledge, but they're not going to read it. So I owe them, I'm indebted to my readers, young readers, to make it exciting. What was my challenge? Very honestly, that I was so fascinated by this entire topic and how we speak, how our brains develop, and how different languages have words that cannot be translated, that I didn't know what to put into the book and what to leave out. So that my biggest challenge was choosing things that were relevant for youngsters. Otherwise, it would have been a 4-volume book had I had my way. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Thank you.